You know how the old cartoon tagline for Transformers was Transformers Robot in Disguise? At this point, you know what the tagline for Michael Bay's Transformers franchise should be? Transformers Robots beat shit out of each other. Period. What's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR, and here's my official movie review for Transformers Age of Extinction. Now, this is the fourth installment in the Michael Bay Transformers series, and the premise for this particular movie actually takes place about 5 years after the events of the third film, in which the government is really angry about the amount of destruction that was caused in the Battle of Chicago, and so they've deemed all Transformers, both Autobots and Decepticons, a threat alike. So they've really been spending these past 5 years just hunting down and killing them and really kind of using their corpses as experiments. We then jump to the present where we follow Mark Wahlberg's character, and he really plays as kind of this unappreciated inventor who's really down on his luck, and he just wants to provide for his daughter so she can go to college. However, he picks up this really beat up truck and he finds out that it is actually Optimus Prime in hiding. And it's really from that point on the movie somewhat picks up, because there are a number of different storyline elements which kind of give the movie different tones, really depending on which storyline you choose to follow. And really by the end of the film, it does leave some questions open, but for a Michael Bay Transformers film, that's really to be expected. Now, I'm going to be honest. If you've been seeing these films up to this point, you're going to know whether or not you're going to go into this movie liking it or hating it. If you actually did enjoy a number of the Transformers films, which I personally did, I actually did find that 1 and 3 were somewhat enjoyable, then the likelihood is that you're going to end up enjoying this film too. If you hated all of the Transformers films up to this point, then why the heck are you actually even thinking about seeing this film? The bottom line is that anyone who really goes to see this film, you're not really looking for a great compelling story or some type of innovative movie experience. You're really just going here for the special effects and see giant robots really beat the crap out of each other. And that's really about it. Now, I actually did have to write a couple of notes down between things that I thought were really good about this film and things I thought were really bad. Going off of good, obviously, is it has great visuals. I think it's fair to say that these are some of the best uses of CG that we will see all year. What Michael Bay really fails in the story department, he does escalate with special effects, especially with the Transformers and the amount of destruction. It certainly looks pretty realistic. The fight scenes were also pretty entertaining. That's another reason why we go to see these films, just to see robots beat each other up. The Dinobots. The Dinobots, unfortunately, aren't really in this film that long. They're actually kind of show up in, I would say, like the last 15 minutes of the film, but when they are on screen, they are really badass and they are visually stunning. I just kind of wish that there was more development into, not really like character development, but more build up to it, because there's a scene at the beginning of the film where you see versions of them and you're wondering, oh, that's actually going to play a part throughout this entire film, and they just kind of pop out of nowhere. And I also did like that this character Lockdown. He was really this bounty hunter who was really just going around hunting down both the Decepticons and the Autobots, and I really thought that his story arc was really interesting, because he mentioned certain storylines that are certainly going to play a part in the next 2 Transformers films. And I also like that Mark Wahlberg was a very likable lead. He's certainly a lot better than Shia LaBeouf, and he's actually a pretty likable character. He's not someone who's just screaming Bumblebee every 5 minutes. He actually does take a significant part in a good portion of all the battle scenes, and you really do feel for his character, that he just wants the best for his daughter, and he's a loving father. I didn't really particularly like the rest of the cast, but I would say he was certainly the best cast member of just the human characters. Now, going into everything that I thought that was wrong with this film. Big one that I'm sure everyone's going to talk about is this film is way, way too long. This movie is pushing almost 3 hours long, and movies like this need to have 3 different phases, and it felt like towards the end there was a 4th. There seemed to be 2 different story arcs. You have the Transformers really going up against the humans, and then there's another one where you're having the Transformers having to go against this new threat that was caused by the humans. It would have been really nice if they had just stuck to one threat and have that be a threat throughout the entire film. I think it would have made it much more easier to follow. I also felt that the ending really wrapped it way too suddenly. I mean, really, when you're watching the final battle, when you think that that's really the end of the film, it goes on, and then they just kind of, oh, this is the end, and now we're going to leave these little hints for the next movie, what the plot line is. And I don't really like it. I mean, I understand that movies like to hint that there's going to be sequels, but I would really prefer if movies that do plan on making sequels feel somewhat self-contained. Don't just leave it open so that we know there's going to be a sequel. If you're going to do a sequel, at least give me a feeling that this is its own self-contained movie. It's fine to be part of a much bigger story arc, but have it be somewhat self-contained. And I also didn't really particularly like all the product placement, but that's a given when it comes to Michael Bay films. They throw a lot of unnecessary things. There's unnecessary slow motion. There's ass shots. There's jokes which are unfunny and somewhat, to some extent, somewhat offensive. I even think there was like a slavery joke in there, which I'm just looking at like, why would you even, who wrote this? It's just stupid. Now, as I said, if you go into this film knowing what to expect, then you'll know whether or not you're going to enjoy it. I actually did find somewhat enjoyment, and I actually did get a chance to see this movie in 3D. And I actually do admit that the really stunning visuals really did work well with the 3D effects, and I absolutely would recommend that if you do choose to see this in 3D, your experience with this film may be somewhat enhanced. Now, I'm not going to say that it is a great film or a bad film, but it's a very average film. It's average on par with all the other Transformers films. However, it is vastly superior than Transformers 2 Revenge of the Fallen. If I have to give this movie a rating, I'm going to give it a C+. It didn't do any more or any less than I would expect from a Michael Bay production film or a modern-day Transformers film. I don't think I'm going to either raise or lower my expectations until we see another director take over that chair. That's if Michael Bay is willing to let another director sit in his chair. If you like this movie review, feel free to like, comment down below, and please subscribe to track me my future movie and video game reviews. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.